Linda, from Judy, who is still in a MWD meeting, and I think we are all mindful of the challenges before MWD. So Yvette, as vice chair, would you mind convening this meeting? Judy will join us if she can, but I don't think we should wait for her because she may not be able to attend.
Okay, sure, no problem. I'll need a little guidance here.
So Linda, can you call out the first agenda item, please?
Yes. Give me one moment. My apologies.
Yeah, I'm working off of my phone here.
So we're gonna go ahead and call the meeting to order, Yvette, and I can go ahead and do roll call first.
Okay, that'd be great. So let's call the meeting, and then if everyone can unmute when your name is called, thank you.
Astrid Hager.
Here.
Yvette Martinez.
Here.
Frank Ramos.
Here.
And Judy Abdo. Quorum is present. The second item that we have on the agenda is the review meeting minutes from the Executive Committee on December 2nd, 2021. And if there aren't any edits, revisions, we can receive and file these minutes.
I don't have any, so that sounds good to me. Does anyone else have edits? All right, thank you.
Sounds great. So item 3 is forecasting the Executive Committee work for 2022. And this item is led by Peter Barth, our Chief of Staff. And with that, I'll hand this over to Peter for him to present.
All right. Hello, everyone. Hopefully you all can see the PowerPoint presentation on my screen. Sounds like we're all multitasking as we are with technology. Am I unmuting? Am I sharing a screen? Am I here? So before we move to the closed session of the committee, we just wanted to take a few minutes, as this is the first executive committee meeting of 2022, to highlight the work we anticipate bringing to the executive committee over the course of the year. So typically for many of you who have served on the executive committee for some time, typically the committee meets between 3 and 5 times a year, depending on the workload. And following today, we're going to start to map that work so we can start to actually plan in advance and try to schedule meetings in advance so we can make sure we cover all the work ahead. So as this slide shows, every year our bylaws require us to do some work no matter what year it is. So the executive committee will, as we do every year, have conversations about the executive director's contract and performance. We'll talk about budget development in joint meetings with the Budget and Finance Committee, and we'll deal with the annual audit and annual report to First Five California. But in addition to the regular work of the executive committee, work related to our operations and governance as needed is brought to the executive committee every year. So for example, last year, for those of you who are on the executive committee, you'll recall we talked about things like our updated procurement policy, or we talked about the work of the capital improvement project, or the meeting calendar for 2022. So this slide, which we'll just talk through each point briefly, is the work that we are anticipating coming to the executive committee through the balance of the year. Note, we're not going to talk through each of these items in depth. This is just a forecast and a preview of the in-depth conversations we will have. So first is our board meeting schedule and approach. So as commissioners know, after consultation with the executive committee last year, First Five LA modified the timing and cadence of board meetings in 2022. As you also are very aware, we have been meeting virtually for the past 2 years now. And we are planning to continue to meet virtually for the foreseeable future, just given the emergency orders in place in LA County and the continued flexibility from state legislation, Assembly Bill 361. But as we think about the balance of 2022, as we think about the year ahead, we want to make sure that our plans for board meetings, both where they are held, virtually, in person, some hybrid approach, and how often they are held, are informed through executive committee consultation. So that's the first item. Related to the first item is this idea of potential bylaw revisions. So when it comes to when and how often we convene our board, we may want to revisit our bylaws and see if changes to the bylaws might help support our governance and infrastructure moving forward. In addition, we may want to revisit committee leadership eligibility. For example, ex officio members of our board currently are prohibited from serving in committee leadership positions. And there's maybe good reason for that, but those are all decisions that were made early in the founding of First 5LA. So we may want to just have some strategic conversations with the executive committee about if it makes sense for us to revise any of our bylaws to help support our board governance work. Pivoting to the next couple of topics that are really related to personnel and retention and recruitment. So one item that the board this Thursday will have under consideration for approval is the executive director succession plan. That's something that the executive committee worked through over the past year. As part of that updated, or not updated, as part of that new policy for the board, we referenced the executive director's job description. And fun fact, we don't really have one. And so it'll be important for us to actually develop a job description that reflects the work of the executive director in 2022 versus the work of the executive director in 2012, 2013, when Kim was first hired, or well before that. Related to that, the last time First 5LA conducted a compensation study was in 2015. And as I think you might all agree, the world has changed a lot over the last 7 years. And so we believe it's the right time for us to be bringing an updated compensation study and conversation about our compensation framework with the board this year. And then a final note, and again, this will be covered a little bit more in detail in the full board meeting this week in terms of capital improvement project. As commissioners will recall, when the board first approved a capital improvement project concept, this idea was pre-pandemic, how can we comprehensively invest in our building, which we own? Both the foundational systems oriented things like our technology capacity, our roof, our HVAC system, et cetera, but also the look and feel and functionality of our building. How do we use the space we have for our employees, our partners, grantees, and the community? With the onset of the pandemic, the board agreed that it made sense for us to move forward on a first phase of the capital improvement project. So those really foundational things that we don't see a difference, but will help us be more energy efficient, have a healthier workspace, and have the ability to do our work. Well, now that that is coming to a close, we're almost there. We're almost finished with that first phase of the work. It's important that we start to think about what a potential second phase that would focus more on the workspaces and functionality of the building. What might that look like? And so that would be a topic that we plan to bring for initial discussion with the executive committee this year. So with that, after talking with you for about 5 minutes, I'll stop sharing and open it up for any just reflections, discussions, any additional comments from Kim, Antoinette, or John, or any questions or thoughts from the executive committee.
Thanks for the overview, Peter. The intent, as Peter said, I just want to underscore, is just to give the committee a preview of some of the issues that are looming large for 2022, which the team really feels we would benefit by working closely with the executive committee and its kind of senior governance role. And given the regular cadence of work that the committee has, our intent would be, as Peter suggested, to leverage meetings that we would already be convening for the regular annual business processes and incorporate, so we're not asking for too much of the executive committee's time. But these are important matters and ones that we've worked with executive committees such as the compensation framework in the past, and feel that this is the right place to be engaging our governing board. So this is not intended to be, let's solve these problems. It's more, is this generally clear? Is any questions about the items noted? Is there something you were expecting from a big picture strategic governance perspective that you're not seeing?
No, I think it'd just be interesting to look at your job description from whenever it was 2012. When was your 2012?
It's 2012, Yvette, and I've asked Gala, I've asked Craig. We can't find a job description from when I was hired, and but even if we did, it's really not. It would be an interesting
study.
It would be interesting. It would be maybe amusing.
Yeah.
But I'm not sure how useful it would be. And I think, given the role of the board in hiring, it's super important that, I will develop the job description and it will reflect, the job I do
Actually
now and can
Mhm.
anticipate continuing to do. But it's super important that board leadership have a line of sight to that and has its imprimatur on it. So it's not just what I'm saying, but it's
Yeah.
what you all as leadership of the board agree are the core responsibilities, et cetera.
Okay.
And we've been doing updated job descriptions across the senior leadership team. So this is well aligned with that effort.
That's
But
good.
again, since you all hire the
Yeah.
ED, it's important that you all put your fingerprints on this.
I think the timing is all good. The compensation, study that you're doing, the next phase of what you want your office space to look like. It's sort of like, time to really, what does the staff look like? What does our structure look like? I think the timing is very interesting.
Well, we're looking forward to talking with the board on Thursday about what our transition back to on-site and in-person work looks like and what the building will look like, or what we want to manage board expectations about the building. It's not a new building.
Yeah.
But it's a lot of important transitional issues, and just really eager to work with the executive committee on a couple of on these ones, which we think are most high priority and strategic.
All right, sounds good. Does anyone else have any questions or comments?
If not, then Yvette, I think we can follow Linda or Jamie's lead in terms of closing this meeting, and then we'll go into executive session with a separate Zoom link, right,
Separate
Linda
link.
and Jamie?
That is correct. And I did want to confirm for this executive committee that there aren't any public comments for any items on the agenda or any general public comments as well. And with that, we can go ahead and adjourn this session and move into a closed session, which begins at 4:15 with a separate private link.
Okay. Thank you.
Perfect. Thanks, everyone.
Okay, bye-bye.
Thank you.